Have you ever seen a dog bark, like it was begging someone to listen? Not out of fear. Not for attention. But because it knew something was wrong. Something no one else could see. It happened one night, at a quiet hospital. A trained K9, loyal, calm, and disciplined, suddenly snapped. He barked non-stop at a hospital security guard. Loud. Urgent. Unshakable. At first, they thought he was just restless. But in the next few minutes, what he sensed, what he refused to ignore, left the entire hospital staff speechless. And when they opened that door, nobody was prepared for what they found. This is the story of a dog who trusted his instincts, and may have saved a life because of it. It was just past midnight. The hospital halls were quiet, the kind of quiet that only happens in the middle of the night. Most of the patients were asleep. The soft beep of machines, the distant sound of footsteps, and the occasional whisper from a nurse, that's all you could hear. Working the night shift was Officer Daniels, a hospital security guard who'd been on the job for years. Nothing much ever happened during these shifts. Same halls. Same rounds. Same quiet. But this night, he wasn't alone. Walking beside him was his K9 partner, Max, a German Shepherd trained in protection, detection, and discipline. Max wasn't just any dog. He had this calm presence about him. He rarely barked. He never got distracted. And in all the years Officer Daniels had worked with him, he'd never seen him act out of turn. They'd walked this same route hundreds of times before. Down the long corridor past the emergency wing, past the ICU, and around the surgical prep rooms. Every night, it was the same routine. But that night, something was off. Hook transitioned to next section. And as they passed one particular hallway, Max suddenly stopped. His ears perked up. His body went stiff. And then, he let out a bark. One sharp bark that echoed through the quiet hospital. What he did next would change the night completely. Officer Daniels turned to Max, confused. "Easy, boy, what is it?" But Max didn't move. He stood frozen. Muscles tight. Eyes locked ahead. And then, he barked again. Louder this time. Not aggressive, but urgent. Like he was trying to warn someone. Officer Daniels tried to calm him down, tugged gently at the leash. "Come on, Max. Let's keep moving." But Max wouldn't budge. Instead, he growled, a low, steady sound that Daniels hadn't heard in years. This wasn't just instinct. This was something deeper. Something the dog felt. Other staff nearby started to take notice. A nurse walking past slowed down, watching. "Is everything okay?" she asked. Daniels nodded, unsure. "I don't know. He's acting weird." Max then yanked forward, suddenly and powerfully, pulling Daniels toward a hallway they'd already passed. Not toward the emergency room. Not toward the elevators. But toward one specific door near the end of the hall. Room 209. A quiet, dim room that, as far as Daniels knew, was empty. And yet, Max wouldn't stop barking. He was now in full alert mode, tail stiff, ears up, eyes locked. Something behind that door had triggered him. Hook transitioned to next section. And just as Officer Daniels reached for the handle, a voice behind him said, "Wait. That room's not empty." Daniels froze. He turned toward the nurse who had just spoken. "What do you mean? I thought room 209 was empty." She shook her head slowly. "No, they moved someone in there a few hours ago. A new patient. He was brought in unconscious. No one's been in or out since." Max let out another sharp bark, even louder now. Daniels didn't wait. He unclipped the leash, something he almost never did. And Max rushed toward the door, nose pressed against the base, pacing, scratching lightly at the floor. Daniels called in a quiet alert over his radio. Possible patient issue, room 209. Checking now. As he reached for the handle, the nurse stood beside him, clutching a clipboard tightly, her eyes wide with worry. The door creaked open. And instantly, Max dashed inside. The room was dark. Only the glow of the heart monitor lit up the corners. And in the bed, motionless, was a man who looked pale, lifeless, barely breathing. Max ran to the bedside. He stood there, barking like mad. His paws reached up toward the man, as if trying to wake him. Daniels moved closer, and that's when he noticed something that made his heart drop. The man's chest was barely rising. His breathing was shallow. And the monitor, it was erratic. Something was very wrong. The nurse pushed past and called out into her radio. "We need a crash team to room 209, now." Within seconds, more footsteps echoed down the hallway. Doctors, nurses, a rapid response team came flooding in. They surrounded the man, pushing Daniels and Max aside as they worked. Max stepped back, but his eyes never left the man. He had sensed it. He knew. Hook transitioned to next section. And what happened in the next 5 minutes proved just how powerful a dog's instinct can be. And how close they came to losing him forever. The room turned into chaos. Machines were wheeled in. Nurses moved with precision. One started chest compressions. Another inserted N4. A doctor shouted, "He's crashing, we're losing him." Officer Daniels stood frozen. His heart pounded in his chest as he watched the team fight to bring the man back. And Max? He stood completely still, eyes wide, ears alert. Not barking anymore, but watching. Like he understood what was happening. A nurse muttered under her breath. "If that dog hadn't barked, we never would have known." Minutes felt like hours. The man's pulse had dropped to nearly nothing. Then, a flicker. A small beep on the monitor. Another. He was stabilizing. The crash team had caught it just in time. Everyone in the room let out a breath they didn't know they were holding. One of the doctors turned to Officer Daniels. "You said your dog found him?" Daniels nodded, still in disbelief. He wouldn't stop. He knew something was wrong. The doctor shook his head slowly, like he didn't quite believe it, but couldn't argue with it either. If he'd gone another 10 minutes without help, that man wouldn't be alive right now. Daniels looked down at Max, who was now sitting calmly, tail wagging gently, eyes still focused on the patient. That dog just saved a life. Hook transitioned to next section. But what the doctors discovered after the patient was stabilized left everyone in the hospital even more stunned. Because what Max sensed, it wasn't just danger. It was something no human could have detected, in time. The room had finally calmed down. The patient was stable, breathing evenly now. The lights were low, machines humming softly, not in panic, but in rhythm. Max sat near the door, like a quiet guardian. The staff, one by one, began to walk over, some knelt down, petting him softly. A few nurses had tears in their eyes. "He saved him," one whispered. "That dog actually saved his life." Officer Daniels crouched down and looked Max in the eye. He rubbed behind his ears, holding back his own emotion. "You did good, buddy. So good." He wasn't just proud. He was shaken. Because he knew, they all knew, if Max hadn't stopped him in that hallway, if he hadn't barked, hadn't pulled, that man in the bed might not have made it through the night. And the most haunting part? There were no signs. No alarms. No unusual sounds from the room. Nothing visible. Only Max had sensed it. Whether it was a smell, a subtle change in energy, or something science still can't explain. He felt it. Word spread fast. By morning, everyone in the hospital had heard the story. Doctors were stunned. Staff couldn't stop talking about it. They started calling Max the miracle dog. Some even left treats by the front desk, little thank yous for the quiet hero who never left his partner's side. Hook transitioned to next section. But the story wasn't over yet. Because when the medical team reviewed the patient's charts, they found something that made this whole thing even more unbelievable. Later that day, one of the hospital's senior physicians reviewed the patient's data. He shook his head slowly, brows furrowed in disbelief. The man in room 209 had suffered a sudden internal drop in oxygen, caused by a rare complication from a medication reaction. It was silent. No outward signs. Not even the machines had picked it up, not yet. But somehow, Max had. Word reached a nearby K9 training facility. A behavior expert reached out to the hospital. She said something that gave everyone chills. Dogs like Max are trained for obedience, sure. But they're also highly intuitive. Some dogs can smell changes in the body. Even shifts in blood sugar, seizures before they happen, and yes, changes in breathing or stress, even before humans are aware of it. She paused and added. But the truth is, we still don't fully understand how they know. We just know that they do. Max didn't need an alarm. He didn't need permission. He just sensed the danger, and he acted. That's not just training. That's something deeper. That's instinct. That's loyalty. That's love. Hook transitioned to next section. And that's when the hospital staff realized. This wasn't just a dog doing his job. This was a reminder of something we all too often forget. In a world full of noise, machines, and data, sometimes it takes something simple, something pure, to show us what really matters. Max didn't save that man because someone told him to. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't hesitate. He listened to something we all have, but often ignore. Instinct. And in doing so, he reminded everyone in that hospital that life can change in an instant. That it doesn't always take technology to spot a problem. Sometimes, all it takes is awareness. Presence. Connection. This story isn't just about a dog barking in a hospital. It's about trust. Trusting your gut. Trusting the signs. Trusting those who care, even if they don't speak our language. Because the truth is, some heroes don't wear badges. Some don't speak words. Some don't even stand on two legs. Some just know when something's wrong and do whatever it takes to make it right. Hook to final section. So as the hospital returned to its quiet routine, there was one final thought that lingered with everyone who heard what happened that night. And it's something we all need to hear, now more than ever. What Max did that night wasn't just rare. It was a reminder. A reminder that life is fragile. That moments matter. That even in a world full of experts and equipment, sometimes the quiet voice, the bark you didn't expect, is the one you should listen to most. So maybe today, take a moment. Look at the people and pets around you. Those who watch you quietly. Who feel your energy. Who stay close when you're not okay, even if you don't say a word. Because sometimes, the ones who love us sense things we don't even notice in ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, if we all slowed down enough to listen to the subtle things, the small signals, the barks in our lives, we'd see the world just a little differently. So here's to Max. And to every silent hero who listens without words, acts without fear, and reminds us what it truly means to care. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in the power of instinct and the silent heroes who walk beside us every day.